Welcome back everyone to another one of these videos where we sit back, relax, and discuss card reveals instead of just reacting and screaming about them. As always today I have Jason with me on the other side.
Yep.
He now has a better microphone so you'll be able to hear him better.
And
Some people
now the spawn beacon is working.
Yeah.
Like every week I actually spawn from here.
Yeah, I actually do respawn every week on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We didn't do this last week because it was a busy period with well, last week there wasn't much revealed yet.
Yeah.
And then the week before that was that Vanguard.
Yeah, right.
So it was a bit hard to get together to talk
Yeah.
about these things. Some people asked for me to put a camera for you as well, so maybe next time we'll do that as well.
You need more budget.
Yeah, true. We need more YouTube channel members.
yeah, that's how we get camera and
Exactly.
mic. Now we have the mic. Now we need one more camera.
We need to film more videos.
Yeah.
So that's the answer. I was debating on. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna go on a tangent if I start talking about this.
Yeah, we can talk 10 minutes about
Exactly. But the card reveals for set 3 have basically started in full force, and I've already covered some things, so I already talked about all the Yugioh stuff in a separate video. You can take a look at that. I think you guys kind of know my thoughts. So not really going to touch on Yugioh, but everything else revealed from this set, we haven't really talked about. So there was a lot of comments, but I'll leave that for when I do the set review for this set, so that'll be somewhere in the future. But the more interesting stuff, I think, is there's the generic grade 2 dragons we got, which are kind of interesting, where it's like they all have the effect that when they're ditched from hand, if you're on grade 2 or greater, you soul blast one to call them, and then they can't attack if you call them in battle phase. So, you know, if that way it doesn't have any crazy interactions in that sense. But they can boost, and their boost condition is usually pretty easy for each of them. So these feel like they're okay as like a generic for all nations. Grade 2 boosters are always good because it's like consistent 10k.
Yeah.
And cards that you get back from discarding are always good because, you know,
yeah, you just
advantage.
free bitter on the field.
Yeah.
And like 10k booster, you can for any case you just put behind Vanguard. It's always make your Vanguard harder to pass, especially your first grade 3 turns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's not too much to talk about these cards right now. I think I haven't really thought too much about the synergy of them myself.
Yeah.
So I think there is potential, but at the same time, they do feel like they're going to be just nice tools that you probably want to pick up in case they are very good in something that you want to use in the future.
Yeah.
I can already imagine. Let me see the Stoecheia one again, because the Stoecheia one is the one that is the hot topic right now. The Stoecheia one could work with Nairos in the future, which just got announced, but the boost condition is you have to play an order or put an order to drop this turn, which will Nairos play orders? Probably not, but you know, it's something worth considering. But I think the main thing I wanted to touch on is the new ride lines. So we got the new Dragon Empire one, technically 2 Dragon Empire ones, because we have Koti Blaze and a new Shojodoji. But Koti Blaze, I didn't cover in the video yet, is a pretty interesting Dragon Empire deck that is Dragon Empire-ish, but not Dragon Empire-ish to the extent that it's only a restanding Vanguard.
Right.
You know, it's got this interesting synergy where you're constantly looking at top 5 and calling cards from among them. So you call one and put one to soul. And the reason why I put stuff to soul is that when it end of valley attacks, you can soul blast 2, and then basically you can stand the rear guards with the same names as the ones that you soul blasted and give them plus 5k. So the power is pretty decent. It's setting up its own soul and calling cards. Yeah. So it's kind of it's kind of like Liela Morta a little bit, where you're constantly making sure you have the same copies in your soul as the cards on your field and recycling them, and luckily the support helps you to recycle them, but then also lets you to soul blast 2 copies of himself to restand him. So you can be a typical Dragon Empire deck and restand the Vanguard, or it can be a bit more off the beat and restand your own rears, which the effect is not once per turn. So you can technically restand your Vanguard once and then restand your rears. So that's also very interesting. But you can only do one of the 2 every battle. So you can, for example, restand the Vanguard for the first attack, then he still has 1 drive, and then after that attack you can restand the 2 rears. So the combinations are pretty good. Yeah. You can, you know, it's impossible to, unless they get some kind of support that mid-battle phase puts a card from drop into soul. It'll be hard to restand the Vanguard twice in the same turn, but doing a Vanguard restand and 2 Rearguard restands is possible. Yeah. So I think the theme of it seems pretty interesting. Yeah. And the firepower is pretty good. It also deck thins. It does multi-attack. and it has some very pretty support, especially the grade 1 I really like, that is like, helps you set up, like recycle your pieces that go to drop, make sure you still have them in deck, but also is a 15k shield that goes to soul. And the fact that all of these supports go to soul while searching cards is really, really good.
Yeah, and also it's just like, the ceiling is high because technically you can have 6 wings if you restand a Vanguard and then restand 2 Rears. So on your Persona turn, like, if you do 6 swings on your turn, like, if you're able to put one of your Vanguard, like the same name into soul earlier, then your turn 4 you can restand and then do 6 swings. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Because you go rear, Vanguard, rear. So you do get 6. So it's got potential. And also they revealed the new like manga order promo that's gonna come out. I don't think it's on the today's card website, but it was the one that's like you look at top and then depending on what you reveal you do a different effect.
Yeah, right.
So that one's like good in Overlord, it's good in this, it's like in general good in Dragon Empire decks. So that's also got some good potential. So I think I quite like what they're doing with this, with what they've designed with this deck. The triple rare support is also pretty good. It's like gets extra power. It's like 5k for the turn every time it attacks. So it's like the more you attack with it, the more it gets the 5k, which is nice. And then it's also a searcher, and like, you know, anything, well, not a searcher, it's a draw card.
It's a draw card.
Anything that draws cards is always good.
It's always good.
It seems like it has potential. I think that deck will actually be quite decent and probably pretty cheap because like it's not as hyped up. And, I think it's also the same set as Shojodoji, and like Shojodoji we were talking about before recording this seems really, really good. So I think the title of this video might potentially be talking about card design, and I think the reason why I say that the card design in D series, obviously like DivineZ 1 and 2 was already very interesting, but the Stoecheia ride line, like when I saw all the cards of the actual just the ride line, I was like, oh, it's just another multi-tag deck. Like, okay, cool, with some orders. But then the orders are really, really cool because one of them is an actual debuff where it basically allows you to, you know, it's like you can only play these like the Sutra orders they're called. But it puts a minus 3k debuff on your opponent's Vanguard, which is a very annoying number because it turns the grade 3 into a 10k. So if you don't put a boost behind it, it doesn't hit numbers. So you could put an 8 to make it 18 still. But it also allows you to make your opponent's Vanguard have -1 drive for like ever. So it's like it gives it to the players. That means that even if they stride, it doesn't go away. If they rewrite, it doesn't go away. If they're playing Varga, that's -1 drive on all 3 of their swings, even if they divine skill, which they probably won't do with that turn. But the fact that you can probably do this every turn potentially is going to be very annoying. So the fact that it's like a 5 attack deck that plays these orders, like the you know, this order that I mentioned is like the debuff one, and it doesn't really do anything else. So it's like you're playing that, but you're soul blasting to draw a card, so you're not losing a card technically, and you're also giving your opponent a debuff. But then the other order is like the one that you want to play to make your own advantage, where it calls a card, gives it power, and gives, you know, the skill that when your card stands by an effect, it gains an extra crit. So that can only be played, like that effect only happens when your opponent's on grade 3 or greater, but considering the fact that you can restand 2 rear guards potentially if you play with orders, then that also means that your rears are carrying an extra crit pressure too. So this deck seems really good too. Like both of the Youthquake decks, so both the one used by like the rival character, this is Dragon Empire one, and the Stoecheia one is used by like, there's like, it's like an old dude in the manga who's like, spoiler alert, passes away. But then his grandson inherits that deck. So that deck is also very interesting. Sorry, I don't. Youthquake is very hard to read. Everyone loves to buy Youthquake, but nobody likes to read Youthquake. So I think if I tell you that a character dies, you probably have a reason to read it. I feel like this Stoecheia deck is really good. Like honestly, it's gonna be another one that I feel like it's probably gonna be like neither of the arts of these are waifus. So it's gonna be probably cheap. So I think there's just more and more budget archetypes. And honestly, for Stoecheia, like even though they did like a bug deck that is a waifu and she's still cheap. Like I checked Lascaria grade 3's price on like Card Rush is like 80 yen.
It doesn't.
It's not even 100 yen. Like. So I feel like this deck is probably also going to be dirt cheap.
But personally, I think this deck is very decent. Especially like the -3k is also like on like you place it already -3k, so you're like your grade 2's beater is also hitting it for like better number. As well.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it doesn't just affect them on their turn; it affects them on.
So if you don't have
it's on your
booster,
turn, too.
if you don't have booster, like your grade 2 beaters also like
actually swings for 10, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually require 5k more shield as well.
I forgot about that, yeah, you're right. Oh
So,
man.
I personally think this like whole Ride 9 is very high potential.
Yeah.
Especially like the minus, as you said, the minus drive is actually very cringe.
Yeah. It's turbo
cringe as F.
And it's like, it also has like so much searching. Like the grade 3, the triple rare grade 2 is like top 7 for the like order, which is also pretty nice. If you don't find it, you draw one. So it's like, CB1 to draw one is always fine.
Always good, yeah.
But then like for me, the grade 3 double rare like is the defensive one, where it's like when your Vanguard is attacked by an enemy rearguard, you retire him to choose an opponent's rearguard and like minus its power by its original power. That is a very good effect. Like it's so good. It also gets plus 5k for every order you play, so it's a 23k beater minimum.
Yeah.
It's like you're restanding this, it's getting a crit. Like, this deck is good. This deck is genuinely not to be laughed at.
And
so
restand also is from the V effect, so you won't face the problem of like the bug girl. You don't see the restand that you don't have the swing.
Exactly.
But this like as long as you can try to recycle your order, you're like guaranteed to have 5 swing on that turn.
People really were asking for bug decks in standard, and it's like you asked for it so hard. They gave you a really they gave you 2 in the span of 3 months. Yeah. Well, maybe not 3, 6 months. But they're both really good. Really good. And then there's some regular legacy support here and there for like the Maelstrom card is really good. We were talking about where it's like it's grade 2 Obscudate and also the Eva promo in one card, which is pretty insane. Like it calls itself when discarded and is a 15k attacker and a 10k shield and it intercepts from back rows. It's like that does a lot. There was a bit of Azel support, but I think the main interesting stuff for me that we were talking about is Shojodoji. Like when it was revealed, my reaction to it is up together with like the Night Rose Stride deck set reveal. But after talking about it, it's so much better, especially considering what the meta is going to be when this releases. And if you don't know, I haven't really talked about this in the video yet, but there's a deck that's kind of trending in Japan called, in English it's being called Hostage Resal. Which is a deck that uses the new... I also didn't cover those in the video, but there's new double rares in Festival Booster, where 3 of the 6 nations got this pair of a grade 2 that searches a set order and sets it, and the set order says you choose one of your rear guards once per turn and you can guard with it, but then it goes to the bind zone after that. And the grade 2s, they say that when they're guarded with by that order, they get plus 5k shield. But the thing is that you can also guard with PGs from your rearguard circle, so that plays around guard restrict. So initially people are like, okay, cool, this is great for Luard. Like this beats Luards because, you know, Luard has the guard restrict on the Drag Strider. But the thing is that this also works with Liela Morta and Resal. So Liela Morta lets you return 2 cards from bind zone back to deck, to bottom deck, and then PG. And so that means that you can basically like call your OT from drop with Resal's skill, call your 20k shield fronts, you can call your PGs, guard with them, they go to bind zone, you use Liel, she puts them back to bot deck, you shuffle with whatever, and then you basically like, you can PG like 7 or more times per game, because Liel is also PG. And it's reached the point where people are putting Liel into Luard, and putting that engine into Luard, because then Luard can call any grade 1 from deck all the time, so he's shuffling all the time. So he can call out the PGs from his own stride skill, you PG from rear, they get bound, you use Liel to put them back, then you use Luard's start of turn skill to put the Liel back, and so you're basically just like recycling your resources. And Luard also binds the owls to countercharge, so it's like you have even more targets in the bind zone. So these like hostage builds, as they're calling them, because you're just like, people in my chat always ask like, why is it called hostage? It's like, it's because you are not escaping, like you are stuck with me in this game. I am going to PG 7 times, we are gonna time out.
We're gonna sit here for an hour.
It just doesn't die. I think they are susceptible to aggro though, that's like the only thing that is worth to think about. But the fact that the grade 2s also set the order is insane. You don't have to set it from hand. So especially the one, like the 3 nations that have it is Stoecheia, Keter, and Brand. So Brand not needing to set it from hand is huge. So I could see this, like, I think in Brand Gate we might see some like builds for it too, because people are like playing this like one and like Leonore and stuff too. Or like anything that uses like Dianza, or like there's a new grade 1 that was revealed as well. The triple rare generic for Stoecheia is like she Energy Blasts 3 to revive a grade 1 or lower from your drop, or get an order card back to hand that is in the Regulus. So it's like Energy Blast 3 to revive a PG is like pretty good.
And then I just got a PG next turn.
Exactly. So I think these hostage builds will be pretty good, and that's why I think that the new Shojodoji is really good. Because the new Shojodoji is basically, he replaces the old one as the Grade 3, which, like, you know, isn't necessarily a good thing, because it makes the old one kind of obsolete, but it's like, the original one wasn't very good, so you're gonna have to do something about it. And if they made it so that these had to be, like, ridden by a Grade 1, like Eva and the others had to, that would also be a bit annoying.
Yeah.
So what I did instead is, it's Energy Blast 3, bind 3 stealths from your soul, and then choose 2 enemy circles. So the circles, they can have resist, doesn't matter, but you choose 2 circles and bind the cards on those circles, and your opponent has to choose a card from hand and bind it, and at the end of the turn, all those cards go back to hand. But the thing is that a lot of Shojodoji support says that you choose your opponent's bound cards and put them back to the bottom of the deck.
Yeah, pop that.
So you can choose the opponent's, the PGs that they put in the rearguard circle to use with this order and just say bye-bye, like, you wipe them out, and then this counters that build really well. So Shojodoji might actually be a very real deck, because it's also very aggressive.
Right.
This deck can easily, I mean, this basically it on attack, or when attacked, puts 2 rears to soul, chooses 2 stealth from bind zone, and then calls 1 to front, 1 to back. So it doesn't make 5 attacks, I guess.
Right.
I think there's nothing that calls mid-battle phase from bind zone. But it makes 4 attacks.
Yeah.
And the important thing is that this also works when attacked. So you can also guard from the bind zone. So, and there's a stealth PG. So that means you know, you can use your Shiranui stealth PGs and just guard with them too, which is pretty good. So I think just the fact that this, like, immediately counters what is the projected best deck from Festival Booster makes a very interesting format too, because this will be like a very bad matchup for Resal, especially because it's very aggressive, and I think Resal is good early, but people are cutting like the order engine. So that means you're not plussing as much early now. And your Sargon isn't going off as much early either. So that means that this might be like a direct counter to Resal as well.
It's just like generally, like, the new Shojodoji is like both good offensively and defensively. Like, you have board control with the effects. Like, even if you don't bottom deck them, like, they can't use the PG that turn anyway. In the bind zone. And like, you can like also bind 1 from hand to meet. It's always like huge in Vanguard. In Vanguard, we don't usually have stuff that like to like counters your opponent cards in hand.
Outside of like Pure Light. That was like the big deal when she was first revealed. So like, we have this kind of effect now in him. Is like pretty good. It's very good. And like the Grade 2 triple rare he has too is like, because people saw him and it was like, oh, he doesn't gain power, right? So it's like 1 defensive shuts down everything. So they gave him a card that gives all of your stealth front row units plus 5k. So it's like, even if you call new things, they will still get the plus 5k. So they literally took Tamayura's skill and just gave it to Shojodoji, which is really nice, because you know, the interesting thing is that guy has to be put during battle phase from rear to soul. So it's like you have to swing once without the extra power, but then after you attack once and put it in, then you are able to CB1 and then choose 2 cards in bind, send them to drop. So it's like some stuff puts the bot deck, but some stuff puts to drop. But so you send the 2 cards to drop immediately that you put from the rearguard circle, and then he gives all stealth front rows plus 5k. So it's really good. It's just his first attack that is small, but that, you know, the first attack, if they hit a defensive at least, now you have the plus 5k. Get over it. So it's pretty good. He also gains 5k after, when you call him, he looks at top 5, puts a stealth to soul, and then gets 5k if your opponent's on grade 3 or greater. So honestly, I have very high hopes for Shojodoji. Like, they managed to actually, like, the deck was already, I mean, it won Worlds, it wasn't bad. You know, we can't say it's bad. It's a very fast aggro deck that beats, especially slower decks like Jejuled back in the day.
Leonon as well.
Leonon also struggled. Like, I think the reason why Shojodoji won is because there was a lot of these slower decks, like turn 4 decks. So now it's like you have a strong early engine. Like, Shojodoji's ride line is very good. You can use Isasao, like, people used it in Shirone for a reason. And so you can use that paired together with a very strong new grade 3 and a couple good new support cards, and honestly I think Shojodoji is going to be pretty good. And like, Archide's not been revealed at the time of recording this, but I have very high hopes for Archide after seeing this.
Especially like how they do this like new Vanguard style Like, I also have high hope for the new dress up in Miracle now.
True, yeah. It really is just a dress up, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like the only unfortunate thing is I really love Archive's original art.
Yeah, that's
So I'm
also
like,
yeah. It always happens. It's always
Yeah.
happen.
Like I did like how with Eva they let you kind of like still use the old one.
Yeah, right.
So it was nice you could like form change all the
Yeah.
time. But
It really depends on how they do it. Like Melissa, we never use the old one anymore as well. It's like it's pretty sad.
yeah, so I hope that we'll see what they do with Archive. I'll try to get this video out before she's revealed. But
You have to edit hard tonight then.
yeah, tonight and tomorrow morning.
No sleep.
Yeah, but honestly, like so far everything revealed seems pretty good.
Even the generic card, like even though like Sobas one called it and with only with boost doesn't seem really like a big deal, but with some of the deck you just have extra slot to put in and you have other stuff that uses the energy. You don't want to put in the energy cycler.
Yeah, like Shojodoji for example, like he
Yeah.
uses energy, so
Then you just put in this if your deck is like not so hungry
Yeah.
that much.
exactly. So
And also like one point for Shojodoji, it doesn't need counter for his own skill. So
that's true. Yeah,
you doesn't really have to worry about you getting damage denied as well.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. So I have high hopes. There's a lot of really interesting announcements. Like they announced stuff for season 2 of Divines, like the next set and
yeah.
stuff. But we just saw an art that didn't really give us much.
Yeah.
I think I can definitely talk about Harry and Night Rose, but especially Night Rose is going to be the one that is very much able to abuse a generic card pool.
Yeah.
Harry historically not so much. Harry's
Yeah.
it's a question of if he can use like Lukier's parts because we already have
Right.
a Pale Moon Clan encounter unit.
True.
So this is the second one of those.
Right.
So Harry might be able to abuse some of those like the dragons and stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think Harry is not as much to talk about in terms of like Dark States generics. It's really hard to like predict where it's gonna go because it's like his whole gimmick is calling stuff from Soul and then it goes back to Soul after the turn ends. So whereas Night Rose is like just drop zone.
Yeah.
like,
Everything
related to
zone.
drop. So
Yeah.
anything that has an effect when placed on rear is
Yeah.
gonna be good.
Yeah.
So it's I think there's a lot more to talk about when it comes to like things you could pick up for Night Rose, but
Yeah.
and I have high expectations for Night Rose. Like I think that deck was historically very good, and it wasn't like to the point that it was like annoyingly good. Like it was good for a very long time. There might be people that disagree with me, but I feel like it was a very skill intensive deck, and that made it like people didn't really complain about it as much because it was like, well, if you're gonna play Night Rose, you have to really know everything.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So historically, it's very well established. So that's why you see so many Twitter posts of people in their like high rarity Night Rose collection.
Yeah. And
everyone's a
so
Night Rose
hyped about
fanboy.
this as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
So it'll be my turn when Gabriel comes out. I'm waiting. I'm waiting, Bushrod. Make it happen. Make it happen. My high rarity Gabriels are sitting around waiting. But at the very least, I think Night Rose will be something to be excited about. But yeah, I think that's so far the set 3 reveals. I think next week we have the new Keter round line. It's like the like not the Hourglass. The Hourglass is Dark States, but the other one. It's like the dude with like the it's drawn by an artist called Bisai, and all of their art looks very similar to what that guy looks like.
Yeah.
So we're getting
the name doesn't pop in my mind.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
you'll see when it gets revealed. So that one's Keter,
Yeah.
and then I think it's like 9 total cards, and then we're getting Archite, which I'm personally most excited about,
Yeah.
and I think that's all we know for now.
Yeah. And then it's the V-Sport card, right?
V-Spol cards, yeah. So we'll see
Yeah,
what
that's
they do.
the one that
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
Jason's a big V-Spol.
I already pre-ordered all the supplies, all the
Damn.
sleeves and deck box.
Even the ones that they announced last
Yes,
week.
of course. They announced it, then I go to pre-order it.
Sasuga. As expected of a V-Spol
Yeah.
fan. But aside from that, what else is still remaining? Like the Hourglass guy, and I think is that the last round line? I feel like that might. Oh, and there's also Regulus piece in this set,
Oh, right.
and it's a defensive one.
Yeah.
We know it's a defensive one because the name has defense in it. I
Yeah.
think, or like some kind of like defensive magic.
We were talking about as well, like the regulars in the Festival Collect. It's actually like somehow better than we expected.
Yeah.
Like there are actually situations like we are so thankful we actually get that in hand.
The random counter charge 1 per game.
Yeah.
Actually can go pretty hard sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very cool, very good stuff. So set 3 is pretty rare because usually set 3, or not set 3s, but the sets that come out in the summer are usually bad historically.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
last
yeah.
year's summer set was set 11,
Right.
and then the year before there was actually nothing.
Right.
So it was like a huge gap between set 5 and 6.
Yeah.
So I think it was just like Festival Booster, and that Festival Booster was tragic.
That's Festival Collect is just tragic.
It's really
bad. That's why like last year like no shops ordered enough Fest Collect at that point.
And then the year before that was like set 2, and set 2 of Overdress was kind of mid. So it was like Bruce Bastion tier 0.
Like for like a year.
So historically, the summer sets have been pretty bad. This year, it's looking very good. So a lot to be excited about. But Jason, unless there's anything else you want to say, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I'm very happy with like even I used to complain they introduced too many Ride 9s in Vanguard because like as you can see as well, some Ride 9 doesn't really get support after sometimes, but the new Ride 9 they introduced now are actually interesting, and like they include some mechanics that we don't use, like we don't have it yet. Yeah. So I'm really happy about like trying out new stuff.
Yeah, it's like they're exploring new design space, and they're still supporting the old decks.
Yeah.
All it takes is one card.
Yeah, right,
so, like,
right.
You know, you see Prison, right? They just gave Prison one strong triple rare, boom, the deck is back. Like that's all it takes. So as long as they don't forget, like now too, Maelstrom got like one really good new card. It's like Maelstrom will probably be viable just because of this one card.
Yeah, we also like I was talking like they actually like remember this deck existed. It's just suddenly they pop a new card for them, and it's really good as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's you know, it's an age-old argument about is there too many Ride Lines or not, but I think you need to keep making accessible new entry points into the game.
Yeah, that's also true as well.
It's very important. I think early Overdress spent too much developing the initial Ride Lines without offering new options. So I think it's good. Plus these Ride Lines come from the manga anyway, so people were waiting for these. There were people waiting for these, so there's still one Keter one from the anime, from the manga that they haven't made that I'm really waiting for, but that'll be in the future, I guess. But anyway, I think that's all for us today. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe as well. And of course, as we mentioned already before, your channel memberships go a long way. They help to fund improvements for this channel, and you get exclusive videos in exchange that myself and Jason work on. So please do support the channel if you'd like to do that. But otherwise, just you guys watching this also means a lot. But with that, that's going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.